Most people don't have a money problem. They have a mindset problem. And that truth is uncomfortable. Because it removes excuses. It removes blame. It removes the illusion that the world is simply unfair. It forces you to look inward. And inward is where transformation begins. There is a silent divide in this world. Not between the rich and the poor. Not between the educated and the uneducated. But between those who understand economic reality and those who live emotionally inside it. One group studies money. The other reacts to it. One group builds leverage. The other survives cycles. And that invisible difference determines entire destinies. From a young age, most people are programmed for economic obedience. Study hard. Get good grades. Find a stable job. Avoid risk. Be realistic. No one teaches you how money actually behaves. No one teaches you leverage. No one teaches you asymmetry. No one teaches you ownership. You are trained to earn, but never trained to multiply. And that gap is where financial ceilings are born. Here is the harsh truth. Income is not wealth. A high salary can still mean financial fragility. Because if your survival depends on constant output, you are still economically vulnerable. True economic power begins the moment your time is no longer directly tied to survival. That is the first awakening. The poor think in hours. The rich think in systems. The poor ask, how much does this pay? The wealthy ask, how many times can this pay me? That single shift in thinking can alter the trajectory of a life. Because when you move from labor thinking to leverage thinking, you stop chasing money and start building machines that produce it. But here's where most people collapse. They want financial results without psychological evolution. They want abundance with scarcity habits. They want wealth with comfort addictions. And that contradiction destroys momentum. Because money amplifies who you already are. If you lack discipline, money magnifies chaos. If you lack clarity, money magnifies confusion. If you lack control, money magnifies self-destruction. Wealth is not just a reward. It is a mirror. The economic game is not played on spreadsheets. It is played in the mind. Your beliefs about money shape your financial reality more than your circumstances. If you subconsciously believe wealth is dangerous, you will sabotage opportunities. If you believe rich people are corrupt, you will unconsciously reject growth. If you believe money changes people, you will avoid becoming more. Because identity always defends itself, even against success. Most people are not broke because of opportunity. They are broke because of internal limits they never questioned. Invisible ceilings. Beliefs inherited from environments where survival was normal and abundance was suspicious. Money doesn't grow on trees. Be grateful for what you have. Don't aim too high. These phrases sound harmless, but repeated enough, they build invisible cages. And the worst prisons are the ones you cannot see. Let's talk about fear. Not surface fear. Economic fear. The fear of instability. The fear of uncertainty. The fear of stepping outside the predictable path. Most people don't chase security because it works. They chase it because it feels safe. But safety and growth rarely coexist. Everything that multiplies wealth lives on the other side of discomfort. Risk, innovation, ownership, exposure. And exposure terrifies those addicted to certainty. The truth is brutal. You cannot build extraordinary income with ordinary emotional tolerance. Because the economic ladder is also a psychological ladder. Each level requires a stronger nervous system. More uncertainty. More responsibility. More delayed gratification. And most people are not financially stuck. They are emotionally unprepared. Delayed gratification is the foundation of economic dominance. The ability to sacrifice now for exponential later. But modern culture is engineered to destroy that ability. Instant dopamine, instant entertainment, instant validation. A generation trained for immediacy cannot easily build compounding wealth. Because compounding requires patience. And patience feels like suffering to an impulsive mind. Here's a dangerous realization. Comfort is expensive. Not immediately, but exponentially. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you pay in future freedom. Every time you avoid risk, you mortgage future options. Every time you delay evolution, you accumulate invisible debt. And that debt is not financial. It is existential. The cost of the life you didn't build. The economic elite understand something most never realize. Money loves speed. Not reckless speed. Decisive speed. Opportunities rarely wait for emotional readiness. They reward those who move while others are still analyzing. Hesitation is expensive. Indecision is a silent tax paid by the overthinker. And overthinking is often fear wearing the mask of intelligence. But speed without clarity is destruction. That's why the economic mindset requires two forces in balance. Aggression and patience. Move fast on decisions. Move slow on mastery. Act quickly on opportunities. Wait calmly for results. This duality separates builders from gamblers. Another truth few accept. You will outgrow people as your economic awareness expands. Because when you start thinking in ownership, leverage, and long-term strategy, conversations change. You become less interested in gossip, less entertained by complaints, less engaged in victim narratives. And that shift creates distance. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Growth is isolating because evolution changes frequency. Many people secretly fear wealth because they fear isolation. They sense that becoming more will separate them from the familiar. And in many cases, they are right. But what they don't realize is this. You are not losing people. You are losing versions of yourself that required those environments. And evolution always demands shedding. Let's address a myth. Hard work alone does not create wealth. If it did, the most exhausted people would be the richest. Wealth is not built on effort. It is built on leverage. Code that works while you sleep. Content that scales without you. Assets that appreciate silently. Systems that produce repeatedly. The goal is not to work harder. It is to make effort reusable. And reusable effort is the DNA of wealth. Here is where most minds break. They cannot detach effort from reward. They need to feel tired to feel deserving. They equate struggle with virtue. But the market does not reward virtue. It rewards value. And value is not measured by how hard something felt to build. It is measured by how useful it is to others. That shift alone can rewrite your entire financial path. The economic mindset requires emotional detachment, not coldness. Clarity. You must learn to separate money from ego, losses from identity, rejection from self-worth. Because once emotions fuse with finances, decision quality collapses. You hold losers too long. You sell winners too early. You avoid necessary risks. Emotional investing creates irrational outcomes. And irrationality is expensive. If you want economic strength, you must become psychologically anti-fragile. Loss cannot destroy you. Failure cannot define you. Rejection cannot stop you. Instead, each hit makes you sharper, more aware, more strategic, more dangerous. Because in the economic arena, resilience compounds like capital. Let's go deeper. Most people chase money without understanding energy. And money is energy. It flows where attention goes. It grows where value expands. It multiplies where discipline persists. If your attention is scattered, your income will be scattered. If your discipline is weak, your finances will reflect it. Because money is not separate from you. It is a projection of your patterns. And this is where everything changes. The day you realize your bank account is a mirror of your psychology, not your potential, not your intelligence, your psychology, your habits, your tolerance for discomfort, your relationship with discipline. Once that realization hits, you stop blaming, and you start rebuilding from the inside out. If this message is already shifting how you see money, pause for a moment, because transformation begins with awareness, and awareness deserves reinforcement. If you are listening to this right now and you can feel your mindset expanding, subscribe to Psychodrive. Not for entertainment, for evolution. This is where we build minds that refuse mediocrity. And if this message resonates deeply, leave a like, not as a gesture, as a declaration that you are no longer passive in your own life, that you are choosing awareness over comfort, growth over illusion. And if even one sentence in this episode made you see money differently, comment, "So good," not for the algorithm, for alignment. Because when you declare transformation publicly, you make it real internally. But understand this. This is only the beginning. Because the deeper you go into the economic mindset, the more uncomfortable truths you will face. Truths about status. Truths about freedom. Truths about the hidden rules of power. And most people are not ready for those truths. But if you are still here, you might be. Let's go deeper. Because surface-level motivation will never create economic transformation. To change your financial reality, you must confront something most people avoid. Your identity. Poverty is not always a condition. Sometimes, it's an identity. And identities are powerful. They shape perception. They filter opportunities. They dictate behavior. If someone subconsciously identifies as someone who struggles, they will unconsciously recreate struggle, even when opportunities appear. Because identity always seeks consistency, not success. Consistency. This is why some people win the lottery and end up broke again. Not because money disappeared, because identity remained. You cannot sustainably live above the level of your self-image. If you see yourself as average, you will make average decisions. If you see yourself as limited, you will create limited outcomes. Economic expansion requires identity expansion. Most people upgrade skills but never upgrade self-perception. They learn strategies, watch videos, read books, but deep down, they still feel small. Still feel unworthy, still feel like outsiders to abundance. And that internal contradiction creates invisible resistance. Because you cannot build wealth while secretly believing it isn't meant for you. Here is a brutal truth. The world does not pay you based on your effort. It pays you based on your perceived value. Perception drives economics. Not fairness. Not intentions. Not morality. Perception. That is why confidence is not just a personality trait. It is an economic asset. Because people invest in certainty. And certainty is communicated through presence. This is why two people with identical skills can live completely different financial lives. One hesitates, undervalues themselves, downplays their worth. The other moves boldly, prices with conviction, speaks with clarity. Same ability, different psychology, different income. Because the market rewards perceived authority, and authority begins in the mind. Let's talk about the salary trap. The most socially accepted cage in modern society. A salary feels safe, predictable, structured, stable. But stability has a hidden cost. It caps imagination. Because when survival is covered predictably, urgency disappears. And without urgency, most people never discover their real capacity. They live below their potential comfortably. And comfortable mediocrity is the most dangerous place to live, because it doesn't hurt enough to force change. This doesn't mean jobs are evil. It means psychological dependency is dangerous. When your entire life depends on someone else's system, you are economically fragile. Not because you are weak, because you are exposed. True economic strength begins when dependency decreases and autonomy increases. Autonomy is addictive once you taste it. The ability to decide without asking permission. The ability to create without approval. The ability to move without waiting for validation. That level of freedom changes how you breathe, how you think, how you walk. Because independence rewires the nervous system. And once rewired, you cannot go back to small thinking. Let's address another hidden layer. Many people are not broke because they lack intelligence. They are broke because they lack obsession. Wealth rarely comes from mild interest. It comes from intensity. From people who think about leverage constantly. Who analyze patterns obsessively. Who study markets relentlessly. Not because they are forced to, because they are fascinated. Obsession is misunderstood. People see the results but not the internal fire. They see success, but not the years of invisible focus. Every financially dangerous person has a phase of controlled obsession, a period where they disappear, study deeply, build relentlessly, refine silently. While the world scrolls, they compound. And compounding in silence creates explosive visibility later. But obsession alone is not enough. It must be directed. Many people are obsessed with the wrong things. Status, appearances, validation. They want to look rich before becoming wealthy. And that reversal destroys futures. Because real wealth grows in shadows. Quiet investments, silent skills, invisible leverage. By the time it becomes visible, it's already powerful. The economic mindset requires delayed visibility. You must be willing to look average while building something exceptional. To drive normal cars while building assets. To live quietly while constructing empires. Because loud beginnings often lead to silent endings. But silent beginnings create thunderous outcomes. Another truth few accept. Money respects responsibility. The more value you can hold, the more money flows toward you. But responsibility is heavy. It means pressure, decisions, consequences. And many people don't avoid wealth because they hate money. They avoid it because they fear responsibility. Because deep down, they sense that higher levels demand stronger shoulders. Wealth expands pressure. More decisions. More risks. More expectations. If you are emotionally fragile, money amplifies stress. But if you are internally solid, money amplifies impact. This is why inner development precedes financial expansion, not the other way around. Let's talk about invisible wealth. The kind you cannot see on social media. No flashy posts. No loud lifestyle. No constant display. Just quiet power. Assets growing silently. Influence expanding subtly. Freedom increasing privately. These are the most dangerous individuals economically, because they are underestimated. And being underestimated is one of the greatest strategic advantages in life. Noise attracts attention. Silence builds leverage. The loud often chase relevance. The silent build control. And control is the real currency of power. Control over time. Control over decisions. Control over direction. Once you control your time, you control your life. And time control is the ultimate luxury. But to reach that level, you must develop something rare: economic patience. The ability to endure slow seasons without losing conviction. To plant seeds without instant proof. To build systems without immediate applause. Patience is not passive. It is disciplined waiting. And disciplined waiting separates investors from gamblers. Here's a painful realization. Most people quit right before momentum. Because the early stages of wealth are invisible. You work, learn, invest, adjust, and nothing seems to happen. No validation, no obvious reward, no external confirmation. This phase breaks the weak, because they measure progress only through visibility. But real builders measure differently. They measure by trajectory, by skill depth, by internal growth. And those metrics predict future wealth more than numbers do. Let's go darker. Some people secretly resent wealth. Not openly, but internally. Because wealth exposes discipline gaps. It highlights sacrifices they didn't make, risks they didn't take, years they numbed. So instead of confronting that discomfort, they attack the concept. Money isn't everything. Rich people are empty. Success is overrated. These phrases often hide unprocessed regret, because it's easier to devalue a prize than admit you abandoned the race. If you want economic strength, you must detox from resentment. Resentment poisons ambition. It turns inspiration into irritation, motivation into comparison, possibility into bitterness, and bitterness kills expansion. You cannot build abundance while emotionally rejecting it. Alignment matters. Here's another shift. Stop asking, how can I make money? Start asking, how can I become valuable? Because money is a byproduct. Value is the source. The more problems you solve, the more money flows naturally. The more leverage your solutions have, the more scalable your income becomes. Wealth follows usefulness. Always has. Always will. The economic mindset is not greedy. It is creative. It looks at the world and sees inefficiencies, gaps, needs, friction points. And instead of complaining, it builds bridges. Where others see problems, it sees portals. And portals are where wealth enters. But to see opportunities, you must train perception. And perception sharpens when distractions decrease. Less gossip, less comparison, less noise, more observation, more thinking, more analysis. Economic awareness is built in silence. Because clarity requires space. If you are still listening right now, something inside you is shifting. You are no longer consuming words. You are recognizing patterns. And recognition is the beginning of awakening. This episode is expanding your thinking. Subscribe to Psychodrive. This is not content. This is conditioning. A place where minds are reforged for a higher reality. If you feel your standards rising as you listen, leave a like. Not for approval. For commitment. Commitment to evolution. Commitment to clarity. Commitment to becoming economically dangerous. And if you can feel your mindset breaking old limits, comment, so good, not as praise, as a signal. A signal to yourself that you are stepping out of unconscious living and into deliberate creation. Because what comes next goes even deeper, beyond money, beyond strategy, into power. The hidden layer where economics meets psychology, status, and silent dominance. And very few are ready for that layer. But if you're still here, you might be. Take a slow breath. Because this is where most people fail. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they lack opportunity. But because they lack economic character. And economic character is invisible. It's the ability to delay pleasure when nobody is watching. To make a disciplined decision when emotion is screaming. To stay calm when others are euphoric. To stay rational when others are terrified. It's the strength to say no to what looks exciting, so you can say yes to what builds freedom. The economic mindset is not built in moments of hype. It's built in boredom. It's built in repetition. It's built in the silent months where nobody claps for you. While others post vacations, you study systems. While others upgrade their lifestyle, you upgrade your mind. While others spend to impress, you invest to compound. And here is the brutal truth. The world rewards patience, but it seduces impatience. Everything around you is designed to make you consume. Ads, notifications, status games, comparison traps. The economy runs on emotional weakness, but wealth runs on emotional control. You must decide which side you live on, because you cannot be both a disciplined builder and an impulsive consumer. You cannot worship comfort and build power at the same time. Economic maturity begins the moment you stop asking, "How can I afford this?" and start asking, "How can I own something that produces this?" That shift changes everything. You stop chasing paychecks, you start building assets. You stop depending on approval, you start depending on systems. You stop needing motivation, you develop standards. And standards are stronger than motivation. Let me tell you something most people will never admit. Money does not amplify your happiness. It amplifies your habits. If you are disciplined when you have little, you will be dangerous when you have more. If you are chaotic when you have little, you will be self-destructive when you have more. That's why the economic mindset is not about becoming rich. It's about becoming capable. Capable of restraint. Capable of analysis. Capable of long-term thinking. Capable of sitting still while your money works. Most people panic in silence. Investors grow in silence. Most people chase noise. Builders avoid it. Economic strength is quiet. It doesn't brag. It doesn't flex. It compounds. And compounding is not just financial. It's psychological. Every disciplined decision builds identity. Every delayed gratification strengthens will. Every smart risk increases confidence. You don't just build capital. You build self-trust. And self-trust is wealth. Because once you trust your discipline, you stop needing external validation. You stop needing shortcuts. You stop needing guarantees. You become dangerous. Here is another uncomfortable truth. Security is a lie. Job security, market security, economic stability. These are comforting illusions. The only real security is adaptability. Your ability to learn fast. To pivot fast. To recover fast. The economic mindset prepares you for volatility. You don't break when markets fall. You don't collapse when income drops. You adjust. You analyze. You act. And while others freeze, you move. This is not about becoming greedy. It's about becoming sovereign. Sovereign over your time. Sovereign over your decisions. Sovereign over your emotions. Because financial dependence is psychological dependence. When you rely on others to fund your survival, you unconsciously surrender power. But when you build economic strength, your spine straightens. Your voice becomes calm. Your presence becomes firm. Not because of ego, but because of independence. And independence changes your posture. It changes your tone. It changes your confidence. The economic mindset is invisible strength. You don't need to announce it. You feel it. You walk differently when you know your future is being built. You speak differently when you know your decisions are strategic. You think differently when you understand that every dollar is a soldier. Every dollar either fights for you or disappears. Ask yourself right now, are your soldiers being trained or are they being wasted? Because wasted money is wasted opportunity. And opportunity does not return on command. Most people live in reaction. Reacting to bills. Reacting to expenses. Reacting to emergencies. The economic mindset lives in anticipation. Preparing. Allocating. Building buffers. Creating options. Options are power. The more options you have, the less fear controls you. Fear is expensive. It makes you sell too early, buy too late, quit too fast, settle too low. But courage is profitable. It allows you to hold, to wait, to endure, to think clearly under pressure. Economic courage is not reckless risk. It's informed conviction. It's understanding downside, preparing for it, and still moving forward. Because growth always requires discomfort. You cannot build wealth in a comfort zone. Comfort consumes. Discomfort creates. And here is something nobody teaches in school. Your lifestyle expands to meet your income if your discipline does not expand first. More money without more discipline equals bigger problems. The economic mindset scales internally before it scales externally. You upgrade your thinking before you upgrade your spending. You upgrade your systems before you upgrade your image. Because image fades. Assets remain. Let's go deeper. Wealth is delayed gratification multiplied by time. That's it. No magic. No secret formula. Just disciplined choices repeated long enough. And most people fail not because they don't know this, but because they lack emotional endurance. They get tired of waiting. They get distracted. They get seduced by quick wins. They forget that slow growth is stable growth. Fast growth often hides fragility. The economic mindset values durability over speed. You don't need to be first. You need to be consistent. You don't need hype. You need direction. You don't need to look rich. You need to be resilient. Resilience is the true luxury. The ability to survive downturns. The ability to reinvest after losses. The ability to learn without quitting. Loss is not failure. Ignoring lessons is. Every financial mistake contains tuition. If you are wise, you pay it once. If you are emotional, you pay it repeatedly. Economic maturity means auditing yourself. Not blaming markets. Not blaming systems. Not blaming luck. But asking, what did I miss? What can I improve? Where was my ego involved? Ego is expensive. It overestimates knowledge. It underestimates risk. It refuses advice. It doubles down on bad decisions. Humility is profitable. It studies. It listens. It calculates. It prepares. It survives. The economic mindset is humble but bold. Careful but decisive. Patient but relentless. It understands that wealth is a byproduct of value. So it focuses on becoming valuable. Skills. Insight. Problem solving. Communication. Strategy. The more value you can create, the more leverage you have. And leverage multiplies effort. But here's the warning. Leverage also multiplies mistakes. So your foundation must be strong. Your discipline must be stable. Your emotions must be trained. This is not about chasing money. It's about building a machine. A mental machine. That evaluates risk. Understands opportunity. Calculates trade-offs. And acts without panic. If this is resonating with you, if you feel something shifting inside, then this is not random. You are not here by accident. There is a reason you are listening. And if you are serious about evolving your mindset, subscribe to PsychoDrive. This is where strong minds are built. Like this episode so it reaches others who need this shift. And if this hit you deeply, if it made you think differently about money, power, and discipline, comment "so good." Not for me, but for you. Because when you type it, you declare alignment. You declare that you are choosing growth over comfort. And declarations shape identity. Now listen carefully. Economic strength is not built overnight, but it can begin in a single decision, a single moment of clarity, a single commitment to stop living unconsciously. Right now, right here, you can choose to become intentional, to study instead of scroll, to invest instead of impress, to build instead of boast, to think long-term instead of reacting short-term. This is the turning point, the moment where you stop consuming motivation and start embodying discipline. The world does not need more talk about money. It needs more mastery of it. And mastery begins internally, with silence, with focus, with strategic patience. The economic mindset is not loud. It does not chase validation. It chases leverage. It chases freedom. It chases sovereignty. And once you taste sovereignty, you will never go back to dependency. You will never accept small thinking again. You will never tolerate financial chaos again, because you will understand something profound. Money is not the goal. Control is. Control over your time. Control over your choices. Control over your direction. And that control begins with discipline. Relentless. Quiet. Unseen discipline. This is your path. Not glamorous. Not instant. But powerful. Deeply powerful. And if you stay committed, if you stay sharp, if you stay emotionally stable, the results will come. Not as luck. Not as magic. But as consequence. Because wealth, like strength, is earned in silence. And when the world finally notices, you won't need to explain. They will feel it. In your presence. In your decisions. In your calm. In your independence. This is the economic mindset. And now it's yours to build. Stay disciplined. Stay dangerous. And keep driving your mind beyond limits. This is Psycho Drive.